Have you ever invited someone into your classroom in the hopes that they could help you improve your practice in some way, only to find that you feel worse when they leave than you did when they came in? Hi y'all, Doc Martha here. As a licensed clinical psychologist, I work with educators and administrators to create more trauma-informed classrooms and schools. And as part of that work, I do consultations in classrooms. And educators have told me that they were a little nervous about me coming in. Because on the one hand, maybe they were worried that it was going to be evaluative, like when your administrator comes in. And on the other hand, sometimes people are worried it's going to be kind of like when a coach comes in to check and see if you're doing particular strategies or not. But that's not at all what I'm doing when I come to a classroom. Above all, I care about people's well-being, and that means students, yes, but it also means educators. As an observer, I can be another set of eyes for an educator, and as a consultant, I aim to be a thought partner to support educators in improving whatever part of their practice that they're hoping to improve. I'd like to tell you a story, but first I want you to know that I always ask for consent from educators before I share their stories, and I always change the scenario just a little bit, age, gender, topic, so as to preserve a bit of confidentiality. So sometime last year, I was doing a consultation in an elementary school. And for me, what that means is that I go into the classroom, I sit for about 45 minutes and observe, and then a substitute teacher comes in, takes over the class, and then I go with the educator to another room where we can talk privately about what I just saw. I always ask the educator first to tell me what their strengths are in the classroom, and then to let me know what their growth edges are, what are the things they're working on, maybe this year, maybe just with this group of students. And then I let the educator know what I saw. So in this case, the educator, Mr. J, told me that his strengths in his classroom were that he was really good at building rapport, that he felt like he was good at connecting with students, that he genuinely liked his students and really wanted them to do well. And when I asked about growth edges, he told me that at that time they were having some bullying happening in his grade level. He told me that he wanted to extend that caring community that he was trying to create in his classroom so that students would also speak up for one another. He had read some things, he had watched some things, and he wasn't really sure that what he was doing was making a difference. And then I told him what I saw. And the truth is, I could see that caring community he was trying to build. I could see that the students felt connected to him. I could see that they felt connected to each other. Multiple times I saw students helping each other with the work. I could see the way the class ran, even as he was providing individual instruction for certain students, and that there was a general sense of community in that classroom. I also saw, off to one side, a couple of students who were whispering and giggling, and they weren't pointing their fingers, but it seemed to me like they were making fun of another student. And after about a minute of that, a third student walked over, and he walked up to them and he said something very quietly. And I couldn't hear him, they were not close to me. But he said something to them quietly, and they looked at him with, I would say, annoyance. And then he turned and he pointed on the wall where the class expectations were. And he said, "I don't think you're being very kind." And I could hear that because he had turned, right? And I was like, oh, well, we'll see what happens now. Because, right, those kids could have said any number of things. They might have said something like, go kick rocks, or whatever it is that children say these days. Why are you crashing out? They could have ignored him. They could have defended themselves. And in fact, what first happened seemed to be that they were brushing him off. But after a moment, one of those two seated children said, "Well, maybe you're right." As I was telling this to Mr. J, he knew exactly who I was talking about. And I don't know the children's names, but I knew where they were seated, and I described the child who had walked over to him, and he knew right away who I was talking about. And tears filled his eyes. He was so proud of what his students did in that moment. And he didn't see any of that because he was busy working with another student. Here was some obvious evidence that the thing that he was trying to do in that classroom was working. Remember, he told me that was the growth edge, that he was trying to work on this bullying thing, but he wasn't actually sure how it was going. And if you don't see that obvious connection, if you don't see evidence that it's working, you might feel like giving up or just changing direction. You might be like, well, this isn't working, so I'm gonna do something else. Not only did that improve Mr. J's mood for the day, but when I followed up with him 2 weeks later, he told me that because of what I had seen, he decided to sort of double down and to be even more explicit with his students about what he was trying to create and what he was hoping for them to take away from his classroom. Maybe because he doubled down, 2 of his students decided that for their semester end project, they were going to do some research and give a little talk about bullying themselves. And they were going to do it in his classroom and also in the other classroom that was in the same grade level as them. And Mr. J told me that all of that combined helped him to feel that spark again that he had come into teaching with, helped him to feel like he was doing the right thing, helped him to feel like he was on the right path. I believe in trauma-informed schools. And that means education, yes, but it also means consultation and follow-up and the opportunity to really think through these things with someone else. Who's helped you in your classroom? Who are the people that you lean on to improve your practice? Drop it in the comments. And as always, like and subscribe for more content. Take care, y'all.